The video that was supposed to play at our wedding was a romantic montage. You know the type: sun-drenched holidays, blurry photos from our first date, the moment I proposed, all set to her favorite song.
But that's not what our 200 friends and family saw. Instead, I played a different video, the one where my beautiful bride-to-be was cheating on me with my best friend. This is the story of how our wedding became my ultimate revenge.
It all blew up just 7 days before the wedding. 7 days. After 4 years together and a year of planning, my entire world came crashing down because of a 3-minute video file. And the sickest part? I wasn't even looking for it. It was a complete accident. I was just trying to get some old photos off a corrupted hard drive from a trip we took a couple of years back. I'd hired a data recovery guy, and he sent me a link to a folder with everything he'd salvaged. Most of it was junk, just fragments and broken images. But then I saw it. A video file, time-stamped from a year ago. The thumbnail was just a dark, blurry mess, but my curiosity got the best of me. I clicked play. And there she was, my fiancé, Sarah. And there he was, my best man, Alex. They were in a hotel room, the same one we'd all stayed in for Alex's birthday weekend a year ago. I actually remember that weekend. I was stuck in my room, sick with the flu, feeling awful that I was missing the party. Sarah had seemed so caring, bringing me soup and checking in on me constantly. Or so I thought. This video told a very different story. It showed her telling me on the phone she was heading to bed, then turning to Alex with a smile I thought she only ever gave me. The camera, it turned out, was Alex's laptop, left open and accidentally recording. It caught everything: their conversation, their laughter, and the betrayal that followed. I watched it 3 times. The first time, I was just in shock. The second, I was in denial. But the third time, this cold, hard clarity washed over me. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. My first instinct was primal. I wanted to smash things. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call her and just unload all of my fury. I wanted to drive to Alex's house and do something I definitely regret. But as I just sat there, with the screen lighting up the dark room, a different idea started to take shape. The hot, immediate anger was replaced by a cold, calculating rage. They had been lying to me for a year. A whole year of dinners, inside jokes, and planning a future that was a complete lie. They looked me in the eye day after day and lied. Sarah cried with joy when I proposed. Alex slapped me on the back and told me I was the luckiest guy alive. The sheer nerve of it all was stunning. The obvious choice was to cancel the wedding, the sane choice, but the thought of it just felt unsatisfying. A quiet phone call, a few awkward conversations, the gossip slowly trickling out. They would get to control the story. We just grew apart, or it was mutual. No, they didn't deserve the easy way out. They deserved to be exposed. They made a fool out of me in private for a year, and I was going to hold them accountable in public, on the biggest stage they helped me build. The wedding had cost a fortune. Her parents, who I genuinely liked and who adored me, had paid for most of it. The venue, the food, the band, it was all locked in. Canceling would have financially ruined them, and they were victims in this too. So the wedding was going ahead. But it wasn't going to be their wedding. It was going to be mine. Those next 7 days were the longest of my life. I had to pretend to be the happy, excited groom while this hurricane of betrayal was raging inside me. I was an actor in my own life, saying lines I didn't believe anymore. I went to my final suit fitting. I approved the seating chart. I smiled through calls from relatives. And Sarah? She was completely clueless,
flowing in her little bridal bubble, going on about flower arrangements and honeymoon plans.
At one point, she looked at me with these shining eyes and said, "I can't believe we're finally doing this. I'm so lucky to have you." I just smiled, this dead, hollow smile, and said, "Me too." Every time she touched me, it felt like she was pouring salt in the wound.
Alex was even worse. He called me every day, a ball of nervous energy I'd always just thought were best man jitters. "You ready for this, man?" he'd ask, his voice dripping with fake excitement. "Ready to be a married man?" The hypocrisy was suffocating.
During our last chat before the wedding, he actually had the nerve to give me marriage advice. "Just remember," he said, "honesty is everything." I almost laughed out loud. I just nodded and told him I'd see him at the altar. The plan came together in my head with chilling clarity. The wedding package came with a videographer and a huge projector screen for the reception, meant for that sweet little montage I'd been working on. I have that original video ready to go, but I had another version too. I spent 2 nights editing the file from the hard drive. I didn't need to add anything fancy. The raw footage was damning enough. I just needed to make sure it was clear and undeniable. I added a simple title card at the start. A special message for my bride, Sarah, and my best man, Alex. I saved it all on a USB drive, a tiny stick of dynamite I kept in my pocket at all times. I told one person, my older sister, Maria. She's always been my rock, and I knew I could trust her. I showed her the video. She watched the whole thing in dead silence, her face just a mask of pure fury. When it was over, she didn't say anything. She just hugged me. "What do you need?" she asked. I told her the plan. She was hesitant at first, worried about the fallout and the public humiliation, but she saw the look in my eyes and knew there was no talking me out of it. "Just be prepared," she warned. "This is a bomb, and you can't control where the shrapnel goes." I knew she was right, but at that point, I didn't care. I just wanted to light the fuse. The wedding day was picture perfect. The sun was out, birds were singing. It felt like a cruel joke. I stood at the altar, looking out at all those expectant faces. My parents, Sarah's parents, friends who flew in from all over the country. They were all there to see a celebration of love, not a demolition. When Sarah walked down the aisle, she was a vision in white, absolutely breathtaking. For a split second, my resolve wavered. This was the woman I loved, the woman I'd planned my whole life with. But then I caught Alex's eye. He was standing right next to me, beaming, giving me a little thumbs up. The betrayal hit me all over again, fresh and raw, and my heart turned to stone. The ceremony was a blur. We said our vows, the same vows they'd been breaking for a year. The officiant pronounced us husband and wife, and the crowd cheered. The kiss was quick, sterile. It felt like a business deal. At the reception, the atmosphere was electric. Laughter, champagne, joy. We made our grand entrance, had our first dance, cut the cake. I was on autopilot, a smile glued to my face. The whole time, that USB drive in my pocket felt like it weighed 100 pounds. Then the speeches started. Sarah's dad went first, with a tearful, loving tribute to his daughter and his new son-in-law. Then it was Alex's turn. He got up there, microphone in hand, and gave a speech so full of cliches and lies, it was almost impressive. He talked about our friendship, about how he knew Sarah was the one for me from the start. He raised his glass to our unbreakable bond. You could have choked on the irony. Then it was my turn. I walked to the podium, my heart hammering against my ribs. The room went quiet. I looked at Sarah. She was watching me with this adoring smile. I looked at Alex, who was smirking, his job as best man done. "I want to thank you all for coming," I started, my voice surprisingly steady. "This day means the world to us.
And I have to give a special thanks to Sarah, my beautiful bride. And of course, Alex, my best man. Your support has meant everything.
I paused, letting that hang in the air for a second. Now, it's tradition to show a little video montage of our journey, and I have one. But I decided to make a last-minute change. I pulled the USB drive from my pocket and handed it to the videographer. "Play this one instead," I said, my voice barely a whisper. He looked confused, but nodded and plugged it in. The lights dimmed. The screen lit up.
The title card appeared. A special message for my bride, Sarah, and my best man, Alex. A few nervous laughs rippled through the room. Sarah's smile faltered. Alex's face went white. And then the video started. The grainy hotel room footage filled the giant screen. You could hear people gasping. The room, which was just filled with joy, was now silent. I just watched Sarah's face. The color drained from it as she realized what she was seeing. Her eyes darted from the screen to me, her mouth opening and closing, but no sound coming out. Alex looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. He was just frozen, a statue of pure guilt.
The video played on for what felt like an eternity. When it ended, the silence was deafening. Nobody moved. Nobody said a word. Every single eye was on us. I picked up the microphone again. "As you can see," I said, my voice ringing with cold finality, "I've just discovered we have some irreconcilable differences."
I looked right at Sarah's parents. I am so sorry you had to see this. I'm so sorry you wasted your money. Then I looked back at Sarah and Alex. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Sarah finally found her voice, but all that came out was a strangled sob. She threw her bouquet at me. Her dad was on his feet, his face a thundercloud. Her mom was just openly weeping. Alex just stood there, head bowed in shame. I dropped the mic on the podium. "The marriage is over," I announced to everyone. "But the party isn't. Please, enjoy the food in the open bar. It's all paid for." And with that, I turned around and walked right out of that ballroom, leaving the wreckage of my wedding behind me. I didn't stop walking until I hit the parking lot. Maria was already there, the engine running. I got in, and we drove off. We didn't say a word. I didn't look back.
The next few hours were just a blur of phone calls. My parents, her parents, friends, everyone wanting an explanation, offering a mix of support and condemnation. The story went viral in our circle. My phone just blew up. Sarah's father called me the next day. I was expecting him to yell, to threaten me, but he was quiet, his voice just heavy with disappointment. He actually apologized. He said he was ashamed of his daughter, not of me. He told me he'd sent Sarah and her mother to stay with relatives and that he'd already talked to Alex's parents. The fallout was catastrophic. The two families had been so close, and now they were completely broken. I heard through the grapevine that Alex's life completely imploded. His long-term girlfriend, who wasn't the wedding, left him on the spot. His parents were horrified. He lost his job. It turned out a friend of Sarah's father was his boss. He basically became a social outcast. Sarah tried to contact me. I got a storm of texts and voicemails, a chaotic mess of apologies, excuses, and accusations. She called me cruel, saying I should have confronted her in private instead of publicly humiliating her. Not once did she ever take full responsibility for what she did. I never responded. There was nothing left to say. It's been a year now. The annulment was quick. For once, the legal system was on my side. I sold the house we were supposed to live in together and used the money to travel. I went to all the places I'd always wanted to see, places Sarah never had any interest in going. I needed to get my life back, to fill it with new memories that didn't have her in them.
I don't really know where Sarah is now. I heard she moved to a different city to try and escape the shadow of what happened.
I also heard she and Alex tried to make a go of it, but their relationship, which was born from lies, was toxic and didn't last long. There's a grim satisfaction in knowing that. It feels like karma, in its own slow way, finally did its job. Do I regret what I did? Sometimes. I regret the pain it caused Sarah's parents. I regret that my own family had to see something so ugly. But do I regret exposing the truth? Not for a second. They built a stage of lies, and I just turned on the floodlights. It was a brutal, ugly, and very public ending. But it was an ending. It gave me closure. And from the ashes of that disaster, I was able to build something new, something real, and something that was just for me. And that's a foundation no one can ever take away. So that was my story of wedding revenge. It's a pretty intense reminder that secrets always find a way of coming out, sometimes in the most explosive way possible. Have you ever seen a moment of public karma unfold? I want to hear about it.
Share your stories in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you want more stories about justice being served, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. You never know what I'll expose next.